and Christian Aid International, of course, in collaboration with Ringo, with Waxy, and the very amazing partner at Daysay. Yes, dear colleagues, thank you all for joining. And it is just good to know who is joining us for this session. In the chat, just write just the town, the country, and the organization you are representing, as you join us for this very amazing session. We look forward to 90 minutes of fruitful and rich engagements that will enable us, of course, to understand the status quo of our partnerships with the wonderful partners we are working with, what has been going amazingly well, and how we can, of course, improve these partnerships to ensure that our relationships are even more fruitful in the days ahead. Once again, thank you for joining. And I am Jim Chick Fomunjong. I work with the West Africa Civil Society Institute, WACSI, which is based in Accra, Ghana. I can see this is, thank you very much, Bulawayo, for a child in Christ. Where is Bulawayo? Which country? Aukadi Alternative Côte d'Ivoire. Merci beaucoup d'être avec nous. Nuha Manino, researcher at Integrated. Oh, the names are coming in so very fast. Jay with Care International. It's so good to have you here with us, Jay. Gerard of Christian Aid based in London, UK. It was amazing working with you, Gerard, and thank you for the time you are dedicating to join us for this session. Branje from Serbia with Nexus Branje. Talk to Loop. Of course, we will be having Talk to Loop sharing with us in this session. It is indeed a very, very marvelous time with you all. And just a quick rundown of the program for today. We are going to have, a welcome remark, from a representative of Dr. Asantewa Afajino, who is unfortunately, unavoidably absent due to poor health. And then we're going to have an overview from Pledge for Change and the partner survey, and a quick highlight from, the role of Talk to Loop, which I'm very much looking forward to that. And I believe many of us should be looking forward to that. And then we are equally going to have an understanding on not only the rationale, but the importance of this session. Then we are going to have an overview, what this research process was and what findings did we get from this amazing process. And thanks to all the partners, the organizations responded to the surveys, those who participated in the key informant interviews for your brilliant contributions, and of course, the Pledge for Change signatories who dedicated resources, time, personnel reflections to make sure that, this process was successful. Then we are going to have an interactive session, to take some ideas, perspectives from everyone in the room. And then we are going to have a special session to discuss about the Talk to Loop platform, which is really something we need to look forward to. Then question and answer session and a closing remark. So that is a quick rundown of the program for this morning. Or afternoon or evening, depending on where we are joining from. I still see wonderful colleagues extending warm greetings from the different parts of the world we are joining from. Hola, Ana Cruz from Honduras. ¿Cómo estás? It is good to be with you in this session. Jean-Claude Kaigambe from Care International in Rwanda. How is it going in that very beautiful African country, my brother Jean-Claude? It is good to have you here with us. And as we settle in, wonderful colleagues, I just want to assure us that it's going to be an amazing and very interactive session. We are going to have spaces to take perspectives from many of us, maybe not everyone. However, as the views come in, as the thoughts come in, feel free to equally drop them in the chat, and we will do our utmost best to get as many perspectives as possible. Remember, the essence of this session is, yes, to understand, what partnerships, how partnerships are manifesting with these wonderful Pledge for Change partners and signatories, and of course to see how we can consolidate the gains of these lofty partnerships, and most importantly, share, insights on how we can improve on all of this. And so, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to share just a few words from Dr. Nana Afajinu, the Executive Director of the West Africa Civil Society Institute. Loved to be here, but unfortunately, due to poor health, couldn't make it. And of course, she says, distinguished colleagues, partners, and friends joining us from all over the world, I bring you greetings from the West Africa Civil Society Institute and the Pledge for Change community. It is an honor to be here and a privilege to deliver these opening remarks. Let me begin with a simple but important question. What does true partnership mean to you? What does true partnership mean to you? It is about fairness and equity, mutual respect and recognition, transparency and accountability, or is it about shared goals or perhaps all of these? Today, as we gather to launch the Partner Survey report, we come closer to answering that question together. It is a real honor to welcome you all to this important moment. Today marks a significant milestone in a journey that officially began 3 years ago, in October 2022, when the Pledge for Change was launched. What started as a vision to reimagine and rebuild the relationship between international non-governmental organizations and their partners has now taken shape into something tangible, something real. This milestone has not been made possible because of the This milestone has been made possible because of the commitment and dedication of every one of you, international non-governmental organizations, partners and stakeholders who believed in the spirit of the pledge and the values it represents. Most especially, I must commend the Pledge for Change signatories, CORDAID, Women for Women International, Oxfam International, CARE International, Christian Aid International, and their wonderful partners who collaborated with WACCI to make this evidence gathering possible. Together with ADESO, we are providing that collaborations, we are proving that collaborations built on trust are needed to realize transformation or realize the transformation we preach and aim for. Change, as we all know, is never easy. It is long, winding, and often tedious. The journey towards transformation may begin with an individual or small group, but it takes everyone working collectively to ensure that the change we seek is not only achieved, but also sustained. Indeed, our hope is that today sets the tone for more openness, more accountability, and more collaboration. This report, therefore, should not be the end of the journey, but rather the beginning of a new chapter. Today, we can ensure that the principles of fairness, respect, and transformation do not become mere aspirations, but the lived reality of how we work. So as we launch this report, I leave you with the question to reflect on. What can you do to ensure that this process leads to true and meaningful transformation in our partnerships? Thank you and welcome once again to this important event. Again, those are excerpts from Dr. Nana Asantewa's message, the Executive Director of the West Africa Civil Society Institute, who could not make it here for this session. Thank you very much, colleagues, for paying attention to those brief remarks, and permit me to invite my colleague to give us an overview of the Pledge for Change project and this partner survey, and most importantly, why it is critical for us. Deepa, please.
Thank you so much, Jim. Hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. And thank you, Jim, for reading out Dr. Nana's remarks. It's so inspiring to hear the vision of what the beginnings of the partner survey and where we've arrived to today. And I'm really, really thrilled to be able to share a little bit more about the pledge and especially the partner survey and how it fits into the PALM, which is the Pledge Accountability and Learning Mechanism. My colleague Siddhi will be sharing the slides. Thank you so much, Siddhi. Okay, so I'll give, in just 8 minutes, I don't want to take up too much time from the actual results of this survey, but for those of you who don't know the pledge, I'll give you a bit of an overview of who we are and the accountability and learning mechanism, and specifically focus on the partner survey. So what is the Pledge for Change? The Pledge for Change is a series of 3 commitments that are aimed at reimagining the role of international non-governmental organizations in the global humanitarian aid and development system. So what it is really is a set of mutual commitments, and that it's really founded on a set of principles that the entire pledge ecosystem, the signatories, the supporters, the secretariat holds really, really closely, and also informs a lot of the partner survey, which you'll be hearing a lot more about, which is the principles of solidarity, humility, self-determination, and equality. There are 12 signatory INGOs, several of which have participated in this survey. Thank you so much, all of you, and those of you who are also representing your organizations here today. And we have over 90 supporters at the moment. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are the signatories here to do? So the signatories seek to transform their ways of working and to address unequal power dynamics in the aid sector while influencing others in the wider aid ecosystem to shift power and resources in support of locally led action. So it's a very ambitious set of commitments. And the pledges, the specific pledges, are as follows. So the first is equitable partnerships. So how can we build partnerships that are truly transparent, accountable, and shift power between INGOs and local partners? That's the first pledge. The second pledge is authentic storytelling. So how can we create and support communities to tell their own stories in their own way? And the third pledge is on influencing wider change. How can we get the broader ecosystem, other peer INGOs, donors, and uplift local organizations even more through the network of the pledge and our political power? And each of these 3 pledges are represented in through working groups, which are comprised of signatories and supporters who will seek to figure out what are the specific implementation approaches towards actually creating meaning towards these pledges. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is the PALM? So PALM is a really critical component of the Pledge for Change. Of course, as all of us know, beyond just making commitments and setting action plans and goals, it's really important to know that we are actually making progress towards them and accountable towards them, and more importantly, have a way to learn together. And so the PALM, which you'll be hearing a lot, this abbreviation PALM, it aims to do accountability and learning a little bit differently. So we wanted this to be a new paradigm for mutual accountability and collaborative learning. There's a bit of an echo. Not sure if someone is on unmute, but maybe if everyone can mute, that would be helpful. So the main goal of the PALM is really to shift the accountability equation. Instead of just having accountability towards donors and INGOs, is to have mutual accountability, and especially towards the communities that we're working with. Okay, so here are some key components. So we really thought of, with our partners, how can we reimagine accountability, right? So it's mutual accountability, as I mentioned before, in its design itself, which you'll be hearing a lot more later on, especially on the partner survey. It seeks to shift power. So the idea is that it is Southern-led in its approach and its design. It also seeks to have multiple data points, which I'll talk about a little bit more in the next slide. And it's very much centered in equity in how the leadership of the PALM is designed, as well as in the decision-making process itself. So this is the main slide, and sorry for it being quite wordy, but what we thought would be useful is to situate the partner survey within the broader set of data and the broader PALM, so that all of us can kind of see where and why it's critical within the broader PALM ecosystem. So how do we gather data to ensure that signatories are making progress? So there are 3 main data points. The first is on the self-report. So signatories are required to submit progress reports annually against pledge metrics. And that's obviously a really, really important process of internal reflection and data gathering within INGOs themselves against the 3 pledges that we have committed to. Now, the second and really important part of why we're all here today is a partner survey, which is led by WAXI, our incredible partner. Now, the reason the partner survey is really unique and a really important feature of the PALM is a few things. First of all, it provides objective feedback from our partners on signatory performance. So this is in addition to internal feedback processes that INGOs would have. This is a feedback process outside it that allows partners to give direct feedback to a Southern-led organization in a very collaborative and inclusively designed process. So that's the first. The second is that with the partner survey, it helps triangulate the data that we're getting from other sources, in particular the self-reports that INGOs are providing. And it's particularly important with the pledge commitment on equitable partnerships that oftentimes can be a bit more harder to track just through like data that's on, what's the word I'm looking for, quantitative data. Also looks at qualitative data on the perception of how partners view the partnership. And then also it's really critical because it shifts the power in decision-making, right? So with all the local partners here today, hearing the results of the partner survey, you can then decide how you want to use this data to decide who you want to partner and how you want to partner and the conversations you want to have with your signatories or the INGOs that you want to work with in the future based on this data. And moving forward, this is something that the Pledge and WAXI and Talk to Loop, we are all really interested and excited to focus on. How can we increasingly have the partner survey be a tool to track data for local communities in ways that can serve your needs? And we're also really excited to have Talk to Loop be part of this conversation. And I know Maria is going to be sharing more about Talk to Loop, but it's another complementary feature. It's an open platform for providing anonymous, safe, and unsolicited feedback from partners and communities about the signatory or about anyone else in the Pledge ecosystem. So this is a really critical part that is going to strengthen even further the legitimacy and the credibility of the data that we get on signatories. And then the third data source is on the Southern-led assessment. So this really complements the partner survey and the self-reports. There's an authentic storytelling review panel that are made up of decolonization and communications experts from the Global South that really helps evaluate signatory communication strategy. And so this is really helpful in particular for triangulating data around the authentic storytelling pledge. And of course, the Global Advisory Review Panel that sort of brings all of it together. So has experts also from the Global South, our supporter community that holds bilateral talks with INGO leaders based on the self-report and partner survey and storytelling reviews. So really with this, hopefully this gives you a bit of an overview about the pledge, the accountability and learning mechanism, and very importantly, where the partner survey fits within all of this. In conclusion, if I had to summarize it, the partner survey is really a key feature in how we think that we can shift power to local communities and local partners by centering their voices in how they think INGOs are making progress, allowing the INGOs themselves to reflect and learn and how they can do better and to celebrate progress, and also giving local communities the opportunity to use data in the way that you think can serve the communities best. So I think that's all the time I have. Thank you so much. I'm really excited and looking forward to a robust discussion and also listening to the presentation. Back to you, Jim.
Thank you so much, Deepa, and don't go away. Even before I call on Nancy, I just have, as you were sharing these rich insights, I was really getting excited, and I just have this quick question for you. Yes, we will be getting an insights into the findings from this partners survey, but why is our participation in this session, in this launch, in this dissemination session quite critical at this moment?
Yeah, I think it really, it's been such a long journey, right? And so many people have been involved, so many incredible partners who have taken their time to submit their responses, to really think about how INGOs can be improving, all the INGOs who have been spending months working on this together with WAXI and Ringo. I think it's just really a place to celebrate what we've achieved together and also to learn. I think more than anything as a community, we are so intent on learning together, celebrating what we've done well, where can we improve, and especially in this moment when there's so many external changes happening in the aid sector, so many internal changes happening within our organizations. It's really a moment to pause and just celebrate and learn together.
Thank you so much, Deepa. And when you talk about celebrating, the colleagues, the Pledge for Change signatories who devoted time, to support this process, the amazing partners across different countries who responded to the surveys. It is really a session to celebrate you, and we do celebrate you. And now I would like to invite my wonderful colleague, Nancy Kusikan-Kam. You were really at the heart of this process. What were you able to, uncover, that could really engineer or enrich this learning process that we are in for today? Nancy, can you share insights or highlights of the findings that we gathered? Nancy, please.
Thank you very much, Jim. Hello, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be on this call today and to really talk about something that we've been spending a lot of energy on in the past, I think more than a year now, with a wonderful community of the Pledge, the wonderful partners that we've worked with throughout this journey. So I will just be spending 20 minutes to talk about what came out of the process. And basically, my conversation will look at how we actually implemented this partner survey process, what were the kind of findings, what were the kind of feedback we are getting from partners on the progress and on the work that the signatories are doing in responding to the pledges that we have. What learning have we gathered throughout this journey? Because this is not just an accountability tool, but it's also a learning process for both us as signatories, but as also national actors. What are the recommendations and what is the next step after this one? Which for me is also one of the exciting aspects of this process. So just how it has already been mentioned by Deepa, this partner survey is a core component of the PALM framework that was beautifully shared by her. And it provides opportunity for us to build trust when you're looking at accountability and mutual accountability, but also provide a platform for us to give honest and regular feedback to our partners, to our signatories, to our INGOs that we're working with. So for the signatories, this is also an opportunity for you to know how you are faring, helps to improve the quality of your partnership and the commitment that you wish to respond to. And for us as national organization across the globe, this is also a reference point for us to help us make decisions in terms of what kind of INGOs we want to work with, those that abide or work in line with the principles of Shift the Power and the decolonizing principle. So we have three main objectives embarking on this journey, and our objectives were basically in line with the commitments of the signatories. So under equitable partnership, we wanted to check in with our partners on how the signatories are faring in terms of they promoting equitable partnership. And we're looking at specific components of equitable partnership. The nature of the partnership they are having with their signatories now. What kind of diversity are we seeing in the partnership? How is funding like? How is support in terms of organizational support? How is decision also like in the partnership process? Then we also had an objective around authentic storytelling, which is in line with the pledge signatories. We also wanted to track progress around the communication, the ethical and authentic communication that our signatories are providing, the recognition, co-creation, and visibility that we give to our communities and our actors. And largely, how are the signatories also influencing other INGOs in the space? And how is the ecosystem looking like in terms of how we are promoting this conversation of shifting power and equitable partnership beyond our borders to look at the global sector? So last year, which is 2024, was the first year of this partner survey. And we began with these 5 amazing signatories who invested their time and resources for us to begin this journey with them. So I would like to appreciate Care International, Oxfam, Christian Aid, Women for Women International, and CODAID for also investing their time and also sharing with us their partners for us to have this wonderful conversation with them. So how did we implement this process? So everything about this partner survey started with a participatory approach. So we started with the co-creation processes where even at the inception, when we were thinking about what kind of questions we should ask, we engage with partners of these signatories, we engage with the pledge community, we engage with wider actors to help us shape the kind of questions that we think will help us track the progress of the signatories along the pledges. So it was purely a participatory approach from the beginning to the end of the process. And then we had 2 sets of data sets that we collected. So we had the regular quantitative data from the survey where we received responses of 342 responses from partners across the globe. And then we also had focus group conversations where we had authentic voices and feedback in terms of stories, experiences, examples that partners shared with us to complement some of the things that we've seen in the quantitative information we received. So that is the kind of process that we went through. But how did we then use this data to determine the progress of the partners? And we use this tool called the Net Promoter Score tool to help us track the progress of partners. And all the questions that we asked were on a scale of 0 to 10 for us to know how partners are doing well. And for this tool, what it says is that when we receive feedback about progress and the rates is from 0 to 6, it means partners are not really satisfied. Partners are not seeing progress in that aspect of the growth. When we receive feedback with ratings between 7 and 8, the circumstances where partners are okay, they are passive, they are not a major promoter, but they are also not a major distractor of the progress of the partners. And then when we receive responses from 9 to 10, it means the signatories are doing well. There's a great positive feedback from partners on how they are progressing. So that was the lens within which we used to determine the progress of partners. So at a point, we calculated the score, which is the percentage of partners that are seeing progress in terms of the area we are assessing, minus partners that are not seeing progress. And when we get a negative score, it gives us an impression that that is an area that we should invest more energy in. When we get a positive score, it also gives us an area, an impression that that's a place we are doing well and we need to continue to progress. So this is the lens with which the conversation that I will be sharing with you in the next couple of minutes will be in. And this is how we were able to track the progress of partners. So we received 342 responses from all the partners that we engage with who are working with the 5 signatories that we had conversation with them on. And these partners were spread across the globe. So we had partners responses who were coming from Asia and the Pacific, who were coming from West Africa. We have partners coming from East and Central Africa and across the board. But we had more responses from partners in Africa and partners in Asia Pacific. And we also were able to channel the survey in different languages. So we have it in English, in French, in Spanish, and in Arabic to ensure that there is diversity and is open to all partners globally. And we realized that responses that we received were mostly were coming from organizations that were national organizations or organizations that were working within the regional level, at the county level, at the district level of the different countries that we engage with. So these are the voices that share the feedback. And I will now go to the first feedback that we received around equitable partnership. So when we started this conversation with partners on equitable partnership, we asked one first question. What is your perception about how equitable your partnership is with the INGOs that you are working with. And here the focus is on these 5 INGOs that we started the journey with. And from the lens of the NPS score, you realize that there is a lot of positive feedback that we receive, which implies that generally there was a good positive sentiment about all these 5 signatories that we started this journey with. And that implies that partners see that these signatories are actually equitable, are promoting or are committed to the equitable partnership principle. So there was that bigger picture of the positive sentiment across board. But then we decided to go more deeper and look at the different components of what makes an equitable partnership. And we started with the funding, so funding proportion. So funding comes in different forms. So we have funding that are directed to project implementation, funding that supports overheads, indirect costs, administrative costs of the organization, and funding that comes in the form of core funding, which gives partners the flexibility to use it to support their organizational sustainability or to use it to promote their projects or continuity of some of their programs and projects. So these were the 3 proportion or composition of funding that we asked. And we observed that obviously, as expected, there's a lot of investment across all the signatories in terms of how much funding they give towards direct program implementation or project implementation. There is also an emerging growth of support around core funding, although not very significant, because largely it was just 24%, and it's not also cross-cutting. Some signatories were giving more core funding, whilst others were not giving more core funding. And some partners also shared their frustration of not having access to some of these flexible funding, because most of the budgets is tilted towards direct program implementation. And then it comes to the overheads and indirect costs, which was one of the challenging aspects that partners shared, that if it's direct program implementation, you realize that the overhead, the percentage of the overhead is very minimal, and mostly doesn't actually cover the even administrative cost components of the implementation of the project, or cover the staff time of the staff working of the project. So overheads are always insufficient, they are not adequate, and they are also not supportive to cover the overall expenses of the organization. So that is the feedback coming from the partners. Then we looked at it in terms of flexibility. So flexibility in terms of, yeah, you have a budget, even if it's a project funding, direct program implementation, how flexible are you able to move your budget along the different project lines based on the circumstances that you have? And we had generally a negative feedback from our partners on how the signatories are faring in that aspect of flexibility. So yes, they've shared that there's flexibility. You can move budget lines to some extent, mostly at a cap of 10%. But because many of the funding are not core funding to start with, are purely direct implementation, even the cap of 10% has to go through a whole bureaucratic process of communicating to the funder, justifying why you are reallocating this budget to the other. So in most cases, when it's an emergency situation, it's a difficult situation for them to move budget lines around. And that's why we got a negative feedback in terms of partners or the signatories growth along that aspect of their equitable partnership processes. Then the last aspect was around adequacy of the funding that they receive. Does it really support or cover the entire cost of the work that they are doing? And obviously we got also a negative feedback, and that's largely because most of the funding do not adequately cover the operational overheads, administrative costs. And also because they are purely direct program implementation, it's just implement the project and end. The organizational development needs of national organizations that work with the signatories are largely not incorporated in this funding. So there is always a gap. Partners are always implementing without consideration of their growth or of their sustainability. And sometimes too, exchange rates And inflation in the different countries that they implement the project is also a big hurdle for them. So the contract is signed, the funding is fixed, you can't do anything about it, you can't even move budget lines as easily as you was, and then there's inflation in your country and everything changes. And it affects how much you can actually implement based on your original projection. And also they recognize that sometimes some of the signatories are also restrained or constrained by the policies of the organizations that they receive funding from, especially if it's an INGO or their own institutional policies. That makes it difficult for them to that give classification of what is identified as allowable costs, and also that affects the budget structure that they're able to use. So all these conditions make sometimes the funding they receive not adequate, and that's why we are getting a negative feedback in terms of how the partners have progressed. But then when you look at other aspects of equitable partnership around decision making, where we look at issues on co-creation at the point of program or project implementation, where we co-create the scope of the project, we co-create the success indicators, there was a good progress in that aspect. So signatories were doing well in decision-making, co-creation, and designing success and scope of projects with their partners. However, their feedback was that some of the signatories are not given flexibility in terms of how reporting should be provided. So the reporting comes in the form of the frequency of the reporting periods, and the contents that they need to report on. So they are not able to make decisions together with signatories around those components of their project reporting. And that is where they see a little area that they don't see it as an equitable process for them. And then lastly, around equitable partnership is conversation about risks. What kind of risks are recognized? And if the risks are recognized, do they get opportunity to share these risks with the partners, with the signatories that they are working with? So you realize that that's also, and there was a negative reflection from that aspect. So partners share that generally risks does not even come into the conversation at all. So they don't have the opportunity to talk about risks with their partners. And then if they even talk about risks, what happened is that mostly issues around risks that the partners are facing themselves. So risks in relation to some of the work that they are doing in their country, they don't get the possibility to also discuss with the partners that they work with. So this is in the angle of equitable partnership. So I would like to also share around feedback in relation to the authentic story component of the partnership. Just a minute and I will revert back. So in the aspect of authentic storytelling, you realize that that is mostly around communication, visibility, and then general engagement with the in terms of how contents are created and how decisions are made together in terms of messaging. So we asked for general perception on how they are faring, how they see visibility, how they are recognized as partners in their dissemination of their work at the INGO level. And there wasn't much progress that they shared has been made in terms of visibility and publicity. And I will talk about it in a minute. So when it comes to partners' feedback around publicity, ethical communication and content creation, there was a lot of progress and positive feedback on the growth of how now these signatories are doing well with the kind of language that they are using. So they are using more ethical language in their communication. They are also telling the stories or amplifying the stories of the people, the stories of the communities. And they are not speaking on behalf of the community. So they are seeing more progress in that aspect. There's also more progress in terms of the kind of respect that they give when they are also communicating the issues around There's less issues around anti-racism. They're interested in locally led initiative. Gender perspective is always incorporated. And all these things are some of the things that they saw progress in. Then when you look at it from the aspect of publicity and in terms of engagement in content creation, yes, they saw that sometimes there was a mixed feeling. So some of the partners shared that they share their reports to the signatories and that's the end. So the signatories make decision on what they want to communicate or how they want to draft the communication that they want to put out there. Others also saw sometimes they get involved in the content that signatories developed to share outside. However, there was a lot of the partners, that's 60% of the partners that were not satisfied with signatories' investment in promoting organizations' visibility and publicity in their own spaces. So they do not feel that their efforts as organizations implementing projects, their contribution that they are making are adequately recognized in external media platforms, public platforms that the signatories have access to. So that's where they share their perspective that in terms of publicity, they don't see a lot of progress from the signatories' point of view. Then lastly, when it comes to the aspect of how are the signatories also influencing the wider ecosystem. So there was a question we asked, how do you see aid being channeled to local organization? Do you see that there is a lot of effort in channeling more aid to national organizations here? And we had a mixed feedback. Some of the partners said, no, globally, there's less aid that is being channeled. But in some aspects, some aids, more of them are being channeled to local organizations. There's been improvement in that aspect. And they recognize that signatories of the Pledge for Change are doing way better than other INGOs that are not part of the Pledge for Change. So there was that highlight that there is the need for INGOs signatories under the Pledge for Change to intentionally influence the wider system. Because when you leave this circle, it's a different story, working with partners who are not within this circle of signatories that are working under the Pledge for Change. So in terms of areas that we need to congratulate ourselves, in terms of areas that the signatories were doing well, which partners appreciated, and that is worth mentioning, include that all these signatories are intentionally implementing or committing to the principles of equitable partnership, the principles of authentic storytelling to a larger extent. So they are doing well. They are also doing well in their communication with them and in terms of their transparency in their communication with them. There is also a lot of spaces that these signatories have created to facilitate knowledge sharing, and institutional building, capacity building for them. And then they are able to also collaborate together. The collaborative approach that comes from the co-creation processes that the signatories are intentionally implementing helps them to collaborate together with them in implementing aspects. And there's been a lot of progress in terms of local or contextual responsiveness of the work that they do, because they co-create the scope together, they co-create success indicators together, so they are able to capture in the local realities of the people that they work with. Partners also help a lot in providing resources, and then their effort to even open up for them to give them feedback is also a good step ahead of them improving their accountability processes that they have. However, some of the areas that still needs to be improved to ensure that they are meeting up to the principles of the Pledge for Change commitment to the highest level include ensuring that funding do not come with a lot of restrictions. There is more flexibility for the partners to be able to move their funding that they receive with you around. Ensuring that even in reporting, you give them the flexibility to discuss the frequency, the content, the structure, the framework that they can disseminate. They will love to sometimes share feedback or report in videos in different formats, or even in their own languages that they operate in as much as possible. Then the cost recovery of their project, that's tilted towards elements of how much we invest in responding to the overhead and then the administrative cost of organizations that we are working with. It's something that partners, the signatories, need to improve on. The other aspect is sustainability, and that's very core to the partners. So they shared that sustainability came in two angles. So one angle comes with how signatories invest in organizational growth, organizational development needs, and another angle is sustainability of the partnership that they have with. So in most cases, the project is 2 years, the project ends, and that's the end of the partnership. That's the end of the relationship, and then they move on to the next person. How are we sustaining the organization to ensure that our relationship with them and then the partners can continuously engage in the work that they are doing, even if we are not there? So the organization sustainability was one key thing that they mentioned. And I just recently finished talking about the public visibility that they need from signatories, that in your own spaces, talk about the amazing work, talk about the experiences that our communities and organizations are doing, and help them to also get their voices, their images, and their messages out there. And more involvement in content creation, more around communication and then storytelling. They need to also be involved in and be able to tell their own stories in their own way. So basically, these are just top level recommendations. You should integrate sustainability. The partners don't want to be always dependent on organizations or INGOs. So their survival, their growth and sustainability is something that INGOs, in their partnership with them, in terms of promoting equitable partnership, they should think about the sustainability of these organizations. Flexibility, I cannot say that's enough. Transparency and trust is something that is growing, is something that is currently being built between the signatories and the INGOs. However, we need to strengthen it, and then we need to build in more trust to be able to allow for more flexible grants processes. And then even at the co-creation level of project scope, they want to be parts even at the very beginning, so that they feel that they are part of your conceptualization of your journey, even your strategic processes. It'll be good to also involve them in the co-creation and the conceptualization of those programs that you want to implement. And then finally, visibility. So these are the feedback. These are the voices, these are the progress, these are the successes, these are the areas that we need to improve on from the partners of the 5 signatories that we began this journey with. But then going through this process, there were lessons that we learned. And I think it's important we also mention that as we continue to build this database, to build this journey to support our progress in the development. So the learning came in 2 forms, the learning of our journey. And once, as we started the process, we realized that having the voices of the partners, getting the insights of partners at the co-creation level from the very beginning of this process was very relevant, and partners felt that they were included in the process, and that was something that was worth recognizing. And as much as possible, we try to make sure that the partners that are working in different languages are able to also participate in this process. So the multilingual approach that was used was also something that was good recognizing. And then mostly, we had a lot of engagement from the signatories themselves, the investments that they made to follow up, the transparency in the engagement, and the participation from the partners that responded to this survey was something that was also worth recognizing, although there were limitations in terms of how many partners we wanted to reach and how many we actually reached. We were hoping that we can improve on it, but then there were a lot of learnings that we've learned in that journey on how do we expand the reach to get more partners respond to it. At least twice as many as responded to the first phase, we should be able to get it in the next phase. And also, how do we adapt and are flexible with the tools that we use to collect the data to ensure that it's accessible to everybody? If partners can't respond using the SurveyMonkey tool, how do we give them different options? And then that's where we'll be talking about Talk to Loop today and different options that we are thinking about to ensure that feedback are given irrespective of the digital constraint that we may face. So those are some of the learnings that we also picked out from the process. And that's because we had a lot of partners giving feedback but couldn't complete the process in terms of filling the responses due to technical issues, due to accessibility, and due to digital challenges that they had. And then it will also be useful that in the next round, we have direct access to the partners to foster greater ownership, to be more closer, to give more clarity, and also to provide more support to them on a ready hand on basis, so that they don't have to go through multiple channels for their feedback to be shared with us. And then continue these learning spaces to ensure that we are learning collaboratively across board. And in terms of the findings, there are learnings that needs to be picked out from not only to the 5 signatories that participated in this process, or to the 12 signatories who are part of the Pledge for Change process, but to all INGOs, to all funders, to everyone that is part of this process, and to us national and local organizations that are working with communities, that we need to improve, or we need to learn from how we support equitable partnership. And that equitable partnership needs to be founded on local leadership, shared values, mutual respect, trust, and flexible funding. Co-creation is something that we've also learned that is also something that needs to be promoted. Decision-making and facilitating greater ownership is something that can be achieved when we are trying to promote equitable partnership. And we need to be flexible, and we need to be adaptable to the different needs and realities of organizations that we work with, not putting all of them in one basket when we are engaging with partners. And that could help us promote equitable partnership. In storytelling, transparency and inclusivity in our communication, that ensures that there is honest, open, and responsive engagement across board is something that should be valued. We need to also ensure that we are timely, our support is also timely, and we are also looking at how critical the long-term sustainability of organizations are. And then finally, investment in training, mentoring, technical support, and institutional building of organization is something that is worth investing in and supporting for the sustainable partnership that we want to do. And then continuously learning. Let's have more spaces like this to learn, reflect, and learn from each other so that we can improve our partnership and we can improve our journey. So what is next? This is the first process, and what we want to do with this journey is that we want this to be a journey where it could serve this feedback, this regular feedback serves as an accountability tool for us signatories to help us progress, to help us support each other in a more collaborative way. But then for us as national organization, this data is for you, and it's for your partners, it's for your network, it's for your friends, it's for your other organizations that you are engaging with, for them to use it as a reference point in making decision on who to engage with in moving forward. So we will want to continue building this data. We want to continue getting feedback. So we will be continuing with the second phase of the partner survey next year. So we will be coming back to you, our wonderful partners across the globe that are working with the signatories will be coming to you. This time round, we are expanding the kind of the signatories that we are going to work with. So it will go beyond the 5 signatories. Currently, the Pledge for Change have 12 INGO signatories working with them. We are expanding this process to ensure that all the partners that work with all 12 signatories have opportunity to share feedback, and that will help us get a data that can be used to support our decision-making and our progress and our journey. And finally, feedback shouldn't end if we've not reached out to you. There is supposed to be opportunities for us to give regular feedback as and when partners want to share feedback. And that is where we want to introduce the Talk to Loop platform as a complementary feedback tool, alternative tool that gives you the opportunity to even send feedback today. If you want to share feedback that could support the journey of the INGO that you are working with. So that tool could also serve as providing an alternative space for you to share feedback whilst the survey process come in on a timely basis. So that is all that I would like to share with you. And thank you very much for listening. I hope I was loud and clear. It was raining at some point, so I was trying to speak as loud as I could. And I'm really hoping that everybody heard me. So thank you very much. I'm handing it over to you again.
Thank you very much, Nancy. You were amazing. It was really a very fantastic presentation, and I could see many of us applauding. Thank you, Kate. You know, you have been a magnanimous, supporter for this process. So at this juncture, colleagues, just to say that many are asking for the slides, Nancy. I know you will definitely share the slides and all, the full reports with many colleagues, just to assure us that that is coming after this session. At this juncture, colleagues, I just want us to have a quick interaction. We will be hearing about Talk to Loop and how we can leverage this platform to make sure that we get real-time data on how partnerships are unfolding and our experiences, in the next phase come 2026, and we are aiming to have a minimum of, say, 700 responses, in that phase. But from what we gathered, colleagues, it will be good to hear from just a few of us. What stood out for you? I noted down a lot of key things, that stood out for me. But it will be good to hear from one or two of us on what stood out for you. Others can drop their impressions or lessons that they've gathered in the chat, and we will read a couple. So what stands out for you from these findings, and what aspects align with the partnership experiences that you've enjoyed over the years, and also what aspects diverge from or are slightly different or really different or significantly different from the experiences that you've enjoyed over the years. I can see some hands being raised, but I'm just seeing a question from Honorable Vital Bambanze. We'll come to your question, Honorable. Sharaf Adam, I can see your hand raised. You have the floor, please.
Thank you so much, Jim, and all your colleagues for this fruitful interaction, for preparing this very, very important kind of an interaction from country to country, people sharing ideas, people sharing different experiences. My issue is not a question. My issue is actually it could be a question or a request for an idea. I'm working with the National NGO, with partnerships and some donors from international organizations. The dynamic context of my country is on and off in terms of the conflicts or the civil, different types of conflicts. Sometimes we work in emergency for over like 2 to 3 years. All of a sudden, the context changes. We go into resilience. All of a sudden, we go into the steps forward as resilience. But during these periods or during these steps, 3 or 4 steps or stages of implementation, we find it very difficult for donors to stick on us or partners to stick on us. What I want to say is that if there could be any idea that I can, for example, convince my funding agency or my donor that even if he's not available, I can be able to implement because I know the context. Even if the security there is a risk into security, but still for me, it can be in a medium level other than an international personnel or an international expatriates. Thank you so much for you.
Thank you very much, Sharaf. And which country is that, please?
I'm working in Sudan, Western Sudan, which
Fantastic.
is Darfur.
All right. Thank you very much, because certainly some of our INGO partners are here, colleagues are from that country are here or who have experience in that country, and they can share practical insights. And just to say, colleagues, this is not space for question and answers. It is space for us to react. What are our immediate reactions to these findings that have been unveiled to us today? We are going to have a space for interactions in terms of question and answers in a few minutes from now. I am inviting Jaul Vera, and after Jaul Vera, let Joseph Gianzi get ready. So Jaul first. Jaul, are you ready? Thank you.
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you very much, Team Waxy. I think I'm very excited about the presentation and the findings. As a lead for a local organization, I can relate with almost all the funding that has come up. From issues of communication, from issues of co-creation, issues of core funding, administrative support, capacity building. I think I was just nodding when the presentation was going on because some of them were just the real facts. And from where I sit, I deal a lot with different international organizations, and sometimes it gets so frustrating when you are trying to really negotiate. It's like you have to overprove yourself. And I ask myself, but you want to capacitate me. And so you also need to acknowledge that I have some lapses as a local organization, and you should be ready to meet me at that point of my needs as an international partner. But most often, it's like most of them come expecting you to be at that perfect stage. That usually poses a lot of challenge for the local organizations. However, I don't know, I missed the earlier part of the presentation, so I don't know if it came up. Issues around pre-financing and co-financing. I don't know if the research touched on some of those areas, because those two elements also plays a key role in shaping the equitable nature of the partnerships that evolve in this space.
Okay. Thank you, Vera. Which country are you speaking from?
I'm speaking from Ghana.
It's good to have you all the way from Ghana, and it's really amazing to know that the findings resonate. And I am dropping the question around issues around pre-financing and co-financing to Nancy. Just note it so that when we open the questions and answers session, Nancy can react to that. I will take the last reaction from Joseph, and then we move on to talk to Luke, please. Joseph, very quickly, please.
All right, thank you so much, Jim. First, I want to appreciate also the way you coordinate the session is so great. And Nancy, also her eloquence is second to none. So I appreciate that. And also for me, the findings are so relevant. I've seen the place of added value where these findings speaks actually of improvement from the signatory side, where we have our INGOs now bring us to the table. We discuss, we share, sometimes even they allow us to take a major decision on that. I think that those shift is well acceptable. And also we have seen those changes, and I agree with those findings. But just also to speak around the challenges as well, I think we have noticed also the issue of still where you are allowed to come to the table to discuss. Sometimes there are certain restrictions. It's like there's a determined process that sometimes you will not be allowed to cross certain boundaries when you are thinking that this is the best way or this is what we should do, and it's been like put at that bay. I think our accountability process need to improve. And then sustainability, just like we say, sometimes the project is for $2,000 and you are given $2,000 to execute that project. So the moment it finishes, it's like the organization should just wrap up and go. I think there should be some sustainability plan and all those. I think all those challenges mentioned there, I think they resonate with me clearly, just to put it short. Thank you.
Thank you.
And God bless. I'm Joseph Gani
Thank you
from
very much.
Nigeria. Yeah.
Nigeria, good. Which part of Nigeria?
Jos, Plateau State.
Jos Plateau up north. Thank you very much, Joseph. And really, I'm really amazed, at the fact that many of us are affirming the extent to which these findings resonate with our experiences. And Joseph, I really like the points around that you're raising around sustainability. And I'm really excited that Talk to Loop, gives an opportunity for us to share this amazing feedback in real time. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but even before I invite my colleague Mai from Talk to Loop, I can see Deepa in the chat who says, I appreciate Jawul's point, the importance of meeting partners where they are and accompanying them along the journey with trust and humility. Again, I repeat, with trust and humility will help us to put in place real equitable partnership practices and partnerships. So thank you very much, Deepa, for sharing that with us. At this juncture, permit me to invite Mai to just really give us, an insight on what Talk to Loop is. And please, colleagues, let's follow, because this will give us the opportunity to share feedback in real time with the hope that the wonderful INGO partners who are alert and sensitive to our needs and the need for equitable partnerships to exist in the system will leverage on the Talk to Loop platform and the information therein to make sure that we, put in place practices that are meaningful for all. Mai, please, can you just take these few minutes and give us some insights on Talk to Loop? Mai?
Thank you, Jim. I am May. I'm with Talk to Loop, and with me today is Maria. Maria is going to kickstart this conversation for us. Maria, over to you. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Mai.
Thank you, May. I'm not sure if you're able to share the presentation.
Yes, give me 1 second.
Yeah, it's okay. So I'll begin by introducing myself. My name is Maria. Buenas tardes and good afternoon to everybody. I've been working with Loop for over 2 years as the communications and fundraising lead. I've been able to watch and contribute to building the partnership with the Pledge for Change family, specifically with the Palm Project, but also above and beyond that, with everybody at Adeso, with WAXI, and with others in this call. So I'll just invite you to scan that QR code if you're able, and in case you're interested, that will lead you to our website in which you can find more information about the service that we provide. We wanted to begin this conversation just by setting the context in which this partnership with the Pledge family started. We all recognize that at a global scale, the power imbalances that hinder partners, downstream partners, to provide honest feedback in an upward way, it presents a real threat for the ways partnerships, local partnerships are growing and transforming. These risks are often linked to missed opportunities for knowledge transferring, missed opportunities to detect risks in an early stage of program and project implementation. And together with Pledge and WAXI, we wanted to introduce Talk to Loop as an alternative and complementary tool so that any partner at any time from anywhere could provide unsolicited feedback that can inform project and program managers or can equip them with more informed decision making. These sort of position towards partnerships and accountability and feedback within global and local partnerships also comes from recognizing concrete learnings. For instance, this Ringo report on INGOs regarding the diversification of listening mechanisms, the implementation of robust structures to diversify the way that we listen to each other. As Nancy has mentioned at the beginning of the results presentation, mutual accountability and joint performance evaluation, mechanisms and avenues to make that possible through diverse listening mechanisms, and also as well flexible reporting that includes and aligns with local capabilities and cultures and ways of working. So that's the context in which Talk2Loop is introduced to this partnership, and I'll leave it to you, May, to explain how it works.
Thanks, Maria. I hope I am audible and visible, and the slides, you still can see them. Is everything still function? I'm not very adept at Zoom, so give me little bit of feedback if you miss anything. So thank you for inviting us to speak today. My name is May, and I'm the user experience and quality assurance lead at Talk2Loop. I'm just gonna take a few minutes to speak about the platform itself, and I'm gonna show you around a little bit. It's gonna be a bit technical, so bear with me, please, while I try my best to give a comprehensive picture within the few minutes that I'm allowed. So Talk2Loop is basically, in a nutshell, it's a community feedback mechanism, or a feedback mechanism that is only digital. As you know, you work with communities, and you know that we offer them different feedback channels to feedback their concerns and speak up. Loop offers only a digital one. That's the only service we provide. What's different about Loop is that it is independent. So it's just like, that's the one thing we do. We're not associated with any organization or mechanism or system or sector. We're open to anything or anyone. We're independent, and we offer full anonymity. So you can imagine if someone doesn't feel very comfortable speaking up, I'm just going to use CARE's name, CARE International's phone, if they don't feel very confident or comfortable using their phone, to log a very serious complaint, Loop offers that opportunity for them to speak up while remaining anonymous. We're not here, of course, to replace any feedback mechanism, including for you guys, the partners in your surveys. We're just here to complement what you're being offered as a mechanism to feedback to your signatories. Of course, as you can imagine, we operate within very strict data protection systems, and we align with the GDPR. And where we go, we also align with the data protection as where feasible. We align with the data protection of each context we go to. So what we offer is a safe entry point for people to report safeguarding concerns, and a complementary tool for people to just share feedback or ask questions. This is where it's going to get also super technical, so I hope I have enough time to explain it. I'm just going to explain quickly how it goes. So as a feedback mechanism, of course, it starts with someone raising their voice to speak about a specific issue. And our aim as Loop is that the feedback loop ends with that person too, just similar to any other feedback mechanism. So for you as the partners of the pledge, basically, we will provide you with channels. For Loop, it's going to be the web and the WhatsApp. You can see the numbers here on the right-hand side. The web channel, once we share the slide with you, you'll be able to press on the link, and the WhatsApp channel and specific languages. You can decide that you want to speak to your signatory via this specific tool. You log your feedback. Our moderators here on number 2, our moderators will receive it in the Loop platform's inbox, only accessible to a few staff members. They will look into it, deal with the feedback, decide whether it's sensitive or not, and then take it from there. If it's not sensitive, they will publish it on the platform. I'll show you the platform in a second. If it's sensitive, it will be directed to our sensitive feedback team, who will take care of it. In both cases, whether it's sensitive or not sensitive, the loop aims to get you back a reply. So if we publish your feedback on the platform and we tag the organization you mentioned in your feedback, we will be also discussing with that organization and inviting them to reply to you. If it's very sensitive and you give us consent, and whatever type of consent you give us, whether with your information or without your contact information, we will also through our survivor-centered approach, through our do no harm principles and all the systems and procedures and SOPs that we follow, they're based on industry best practices. We will direct your sensitive feedback where it should go so that you get an answer, accountability, or to your the feedback that you have raised. So just quickly, this is our platform. If you go to Maria, if you can just put it in the chat, if I may ask you, please. If you go to this page, you will see all the feedback that we have received throughout the years we've been operating. Of course, mostly of it now comes from Somalia because that's where we are currently operating. Associated with it is a statistics page. You can, of course, also learn here, like you can edit the filters and look up at the specific trends that you're interested in following. But this is basically our feedback page where only non-sensitive feedback gets published. So you can look up only thanks, requests for information, and so on and so forth. No sensitive feedback is ever published here. It all goes to the different stream. Organizations who, like for the partners who want to use this, they're going to use Loop's platform as a user. So this is, for example, one of the channels that you will be able to use, which is the web channel, but also we have the WhatsApp. So for partners, you're going to be using this as a tool to communicate feedback about your signatories, whether through the survey, during the survey, or afterwards, or now, whenever you want. And then we will direct it to them. To the signatories, we have spoken to a few of them, and they know how to use the platform already. Maria maybe has more information than me on this. And the organizations will, once they're tagged here, they will receive notifications and they will be able to reply to your feedback. So that's in a nutshell and quickly what our platform is. And yes, and it's available for you in English, Arabic, Spanish, French, and Mahatri for partners in this call who are based in Somalia. Finally, I think from my side would be that the open platform, I was on it now, you saw it, you can have something called preset filters. If you, and I think this is very important and maybe relevant for you to know, if you operate in Somalia and you would like to learn more about what's going on, what people are talking about, how you can help them maybe, or what you're interested in learning what goes on there, you can go here and then create some filters by saving some of the filters that is like this. You save your search basically, and it's called preset filters. And then you can save your search under a specific name and then keep it there. All of that is available on the platform. And finally, I think from my side is just to tell you that if you are not, if you're not on our newsletter, you don't know about us or anything, you can join. Maria will share the links in a little bit in the following slides. You can also follow us and sign up to our newsletter where you can receive our quarterly reports. They're all available on the platform, on the website. Maria, if you don't mind, please sharing the link in the chat. We publish monthly snapshots from Somalia and quarterly deep dives also for Somalia for the time being, but wherever we go, we're going to be doing the same thing. So you can actually head there and look up what people are actually talking about, what reports do we publish, and what people in Somalia, at least, what people are interested in. That's it from me. Maria, I'll keep on maybe presenting the slides for you when, yeah.
Thank you so much. So after listening to May and understanding a little bit more how the platform works, how we provide this global service for, in this case, partners of the signatories of the Pledge for Change to use and provide further feedback, whether you've participated in the survey, in the 2025 version of the survey, whether you haven't participated in it, this is a call to action and an open invitation for you to use Talk to Loop as an additional and complementary way to share your thoughts, share your experiences, share your knowledge. This is in what follows. We will share a quick guidelines into the process. We think you can either feedback on the findings that Nancy has very thoughtfully presented throughout this hour. Just thinking on these questions that Jim also has prompted, what's missing or what needs more attention, what calls to you, updates if you already filled out the survey and you were able to participate in it. Is there anything missing in the results that you're seeing? Would you want to expand on your experience? Is there any other issue that should be raised? Or if you have new reflections because you weren't able to join the first version of the survey. As May has said, Loop is an ongoing service. We will be available during the next couple of surveys that are planned for next year, and the year after that will be also available before, after. You can do this in the comfort of your home. You can do it any time of day. You can use WhatsApp or web. You can do it in those languages that we've provided. As Loop grows and extends, the languages in which we will be able to provide the service will grow. Currently we're in talks to expand to Kenya and to Ethiopia, and there is some interest in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So that means that we'll localize the tool in many other languages, but those updates will be shared with you in time. But anyways, this is just a call for anyone who wants to participate to do it, and a kind reminder, if you do decide to do so, it will be very helpful for anyone submitting feedback through Loop to remember that the more detail that you are able to provide, the better the chances that our moderators have to tag properly the feedback and to relay it to the proper focal points, as well as WAXI's research team, so that it can be also aggregated to the analysis that they're doing. So some quick guidelines here would be to mention WAXI, to mention the survey, to mention pledge, to mention which of the pledges you are referring to, if it's equitable partnership, if it's authentic storytelling, or influencing wider change. In case your feedback is not an opinion or a request for information, or it's not about an experience that you've had with signatories, but you want to report safeguarding issues, including but not exclusive to bullying, discrimination, harassment, sexual harassment or violence, or corruption concerns, we also invite you to do it through Loop. We have, as May has informed you, strict safeguarding and data privacy protocols that make Loop a very, very safe tool to use. You can choose to remain anonymous. Your personal information will never be shared, and with your consent, safeguarding or fraud focal points of the signatories will receive your report directly. And to finalize, we just want to say that your voice matters. We value your feedback, and we invite you to use Talk to Loop. Just to to say a quick bye, we want to emphasize what Loop is. We've said what Loop offers for this project, and now we want to emphasize what we cannot offer. Although Loop is meant to be offered in minority languages because our focus is on community access, for this specific project, we're not able to do so. So you've learned what the main languages that we support are, which are Arabic, French, Spanish, English, and Somali. We're not able to provide voice input mechanisms or SMS. And also, we're not able to work on local ownership or networks for referrals, which means that all sensitive feedback reports or requests for assistance will be referred to appropriate focal points following signatories protocols. And we unfortunately cannot include community feedback, although we welcome community feedback and we will never not moderate community feedback for this specific project. We cannot advertise for it. Finally, just to finalize, we invite you to submit feedback through Loop. If you scan this QR code, it will take you to a quick route in which you can decide to either do so by our web channel or by WhatsApp. You can sign up to our newsletter. You can also review our blog page in which we constantly publish our reports. In due time, when Loop starts receiving feedback from partners, we will develop reports around the pledge and the PALM project. And if you have any other questions, ideas, or queries, you can contact us hello@talktoloop.org. And then I'll just give you this quick link so you can learn further how the platform works. Thank you so much. That's it.
Thank you very much, Maria. That was really wonderful and brilliant, Maria and Mai. And colleagues, don't forget this web address, talktoloop.org. The email is hello@talktoloop.org. Hello@talktoloop.org. Thank you very much, Maria and Mai. And we are getting to the close of the session. And just to say, it's really been an amazing time, and I'll be coming to all of us to ask one thing we gathered, particularly from the findings that were shared with us. Thank you very much for the links that you're sharing in the chat. So I'll be coming in a short while to ask us one thing we gathered from the findings that were shared. But before that, Nancy, I just want to invite you quickly. Vera asked a question to find out, what the findings said around perspectives around pre-financing and co-financing models in partnerships. In 1 minute, what do you have to say, Nancy?
Okay, so thank you, Vera, for asking that question. So we didn't get a lot of insights around pre-financing. But then there was a feedback from one of our partners that responded that mentioned that they always have to sometimes co-finance because they are not able to meet the funding are not able to cover the overall costs of the support that they have to give to their community. So yes, there was that element of co-financing that came up, but then we didn't get the aspect of pre-financing. And I think for me, this is also a new feedback that can complement what we already have, which we really appreciate. Thank you very much, Vera, for bringing that up.
That is really, really amazing. And I like the iterative mindset, that you have. We are gathering feedback, learning from that feedback and improving the process so that we can collate as much relevant data that can help us enhance our partnerships. We will be sharing the links to the reports in the chat. And also, before we do that, we just want to share a link to find out. We are wrapping up now. So, and thank you for staying on a little longer. We are just sharing a link to find out what your impressions are about this session. So you can feel free to click on that link and share your feedback with us. It's in English, French, that we can explore, and as many languages that we can. And just to find out from you, what is that one thing, that you gathered from, the findings that were shared with us today? Anyone can share in the chat, and I'll read as many that come in. Meanwhile, at this juncture, permit me to thank once again the amazing partners that made this survey possible. All the partners in all the countries that responded to the survey, took part in the key informant interviews. You were all amazing. To Women for Women International, CARE International, Court Aid, Oxfam International, and Christian Aid, you have been amazing partners, and we look forward, in the 2026 version to have more signatories engage with us in this process and more partners, to engage with us in this process. And if you've been part of this process, if you were part of this process, it's If it is your first time hearing that such a process, was on, do not hesitate to reach out to research@wacsy.org with your details so that we can include you in subsequent engagement so that your feedback can be gathered or can enrich the process. And remember, we have the Talk to Loop platform to bring on board these perspectives, these experience in a real-time fashion so that we have more evidence to leverage on to enrich our partnerships. I have the feedbacks coming in. Kate, the amazing Kate, who has been very, very supportive, in this process right from day one. My takeaway, how much appetite there is for this kind of feedback, participatory process and transparency. Thank you, Wacsy, and all the partners who contributed, especially Adeso and Ringo, for making this possible. I see Jaul Vera saying, INGOs investing in local leadership. That is your takeaway, all the way from Tamale in Ghana. And so all the INGO partners who are operating in Ghana, in Tamale, in other parts of Africa and the world at large, do not hesitate to be more mindful about the need to invest in local leadership. Thank you all and congratulations for this work. That's Andrea. We have Jay. Jay, thank you for your feedback. Some pieces of feedback are complicated to respond to as the power on many things ultimately lies with donors. Good to know, Jay, which we should, as INGOs, be influencing, but that is not always easy or possible. But others shouldn't be so hard as they really cost us nothing, such as crediting partners in the media or publicity materials. Great presentation and work, Team Wacsy. Jay, the thanks goes to you in an immeasurable fashion for the support you provided to this process. Bahar says, thank you. It was new information and good organized meeting. Alex says, I was really encouraged to see the excitement amongst local actors about these findings. I wish we had more time to hear more comments about how this resonates with them. Can we organize another session like this when people have had time to review the report? Good recommendation, Alex. And we have over 100 persons here. I just want to see how many thumbs up are coming in response to that. Alex is asking if we can have another session in the near future. And of course, I know we definitely plan to have, I see the thumbs up coming. Nancy, Adeso colleagues, Pledge for Change signatories, we are all taking note of that and we should make it happen. Thank you for giving us the chance to present Loop. Oh, it was amazing having you with us, Mai, and we look forward to having you in future sessions. Paul says, thanks so much for this opportunity. I'm Paul Nyabaka from Nature Talent Foundation in Ibidi refugee settlement in Uganda. What stood out most for me was the fact that 50% of partners were still reporting of funding inadequacies, meaning that more emphasis has to be laid in this area in as far as grassroots supports are concerned. You are spot on, Paul, and I am sure our wonderful INGO partners who are taking this process very seriously will definitely act on it to the best of their ability. Sorry, I really can't read all the amazing feedback, but just to thank all these wonderful representatives from Zimbabwe, from Afghanistan, from Nigeria, from Benin, from Zambia, from Spain, from Rwanda, from Honduras. I was hoping to see someone from Guinea where I am, or from Cameroon. Yes, there was someone from Cameroon. Thank you for representing Cameroon, from Serbia, Jordan, Mali, Liberia, Mexico, or Mexico as we call it, Burkina Faso, United Kingdom, Rwanda. Thank you all very much. We will be parting ways shortly. Don't forget to share your feedback on the survey on how you found the session and what we could do to improve upon this. Alex has made a very important recommendation or request, and I saw so many thumbs up coming our way. And of course, I know that there are intentions to present these findings to the specific respondents, who shared their feedback or their perspectives. And so stay in the know. We will share that information out, on WACCI's social media platforms, on Adeso's platforms, and on the information platforms or outlets of our different Pledge for Signatory partners platforms, so that anyone interested can join. So definitely we will make sure many of these sessions happen so that we can go deeper in what these findings say and what they really mean to the partnerships we want now and in the future. The links to the reports in English, in French, in Spanish and Arabic have been shared with us. Please let us click on them, download them, and read them, in the near future. Of course, the survey is also in French, English, Arabic, Spanish, so we can please share our thoughts. Thanks to the interpretation team. Dali and colleagues, you have been amazing to make sure that our efforts to improve partnerships in the civil society sector across the globe, really works, and language shouldn't be a barrier. Thank you all amazing interpreters for doing justice to this session, and we will definitely count on you when we will be making subsequent presentations to other partners. Merci Tahihou Manu, merci beaucoup, et on est fiers que tu adhèrent à 100% à ce rapport depuis le Niger. On envoie les salutations, partagez nos salutations à toutes vos collègues dans la société civile nigérienne et essayez de les inviter pour prochaines séances pour qu'ensemble, nous pouvons partager nos réflexions par rapport à comment nous pouvons améliorer le partenariat dans notre très bel secteur. Once again, colleagues, thanks to the amazing technical team from WACCI for supporting, for the fantastic team at Adeso, for Talk to Loop colleagues, for raising our awareness on this very amazing platform that we can anonymously share information on the experiences we are encountering in real time, for all the Pledge for Change signatories who made it possible for this survey to happen. We will definitely look forward to collaborating with you, Cord Aid, Christian Aid, Women for Women International, Oxfam International, Care International in the near future to make sure that we gather more findings that will help us enhance our relationship. To the Ringo team that has really been engineering and supporting this work, thank you so much, and we look forward to staying in touch with you. Merci beaucoup et à tout à l'heure. Au revoir.